To be able to create our own 3D models, we obviously need some type of software. The software we're going to use is called Magica Voxel, and you can download and use it completely for free. It's all we need to create amazing 3D models for our games. The software is also really easy and intuitive to use, and after watching this short tutorial, you should be able to create your own models without any problems. So let's start by downloading the software. And don't worry, it's not really a big file, so it won't take up a lot of space on your hard drive. Okay, so let's just open this and unzip the download wherever you like, and if it doesn't start, which currently is a common bug in Mac OS Sierra, meaning you get a pop-up when you try to open it, or just get this black screen and nothing else happens. But don't worry, the developer has provided a solution for this problem. All we need to do is take this file and just take it out of the folder and then put it back in. For some reason, this takes care of the issue and the program starts afterwards. And since we are getting this amazing tool completely for free, I think that this is certainly something that we all can live with. When we then start the program, this is what we start with every time. A three-dimensional cube that we can select by pressing Command and A. We're then able to see this three-dimensional grid on the cube that shows us it's made up from smaller cubes. These cubes are called a voxel and are going to be the basis for all of our models. The most important thing for us when developing three-dimensional models is obviously that we are able to work with our camera, since we need to be able to see what we are currently modeling. You can just move the camera with the keyboard. By pressing Q, you move the camera down. By pressing E, you move it up. With W and S, we're able to zoom in and out. And with A and D, we can rotate the camera. Personally, I prefer to use the mouse or trackpad when adjusting the camera, where you can just right-click and hold and then drag to move the camera wherever you like. This is really helpful. And if you mess up your perspective, don't worry about it. You can always reset the camera by clicking on this little button down here. Those lines that you can see in red, green and blue are just the axis for our three-dimensional coordinate system. Red is X, Y is green, and blue is the Z-axis. You are also able to get the coordinates of your cursor, meaning the voxel that you currently have selected, down here in the console. It's also really good to know that this three-dimensional space that we are working in is limited to 126 by 126 by 126 voxel, which usually is big enough for most projects that we are going to do in this program. Unless you'd want to design gigantic levels or worlds, of course. We are also able to adjust the size of this grid right at the top here. So let's just set this to 50 by 50 by 50. If you want all three numbers to be the same, it's enough if you only put in one number, and it will be set for the other two as well. But this doesn't mean that all of these numbers have to be the same, as I can show you if I set one of them to be 60. This is very convenient when we are modeling something that is higher than it is wide, for example. Now let's have a look at these options down here in the left corner, where we can adjust the view. For example, we can choose whether we want to display the ground or not. We can turn the shadow on and off. We can also activate a second grid, which we are currently unable to see, but which will come in very handy when we design our models. And we can also turn on and off whether we want to display the edges of our view. Now it's time we learn what tools we can use to design our models. Since I want to start with an empty view, I'm just going to select all of the voxels that we currently have by holding down Command and A and hitting delete, which will give us an empty view, which is perfect for us to design our model in. Let's have a look at the tools that we have. As you can see, we have 6 different so-called brush tools. The first one is the line tool, which enables us to draw 3-dimensional lines. And I'm just going to show you how this works. For all of our tools, we have 3 different options, or better yet, modes. The first one being attach, which enables us to create and add voxels, erase, which allows us to delete them, and paint, as the name suggests, allows us to paint existing voxels. I'll just select this red color for now, so that we can see what it actually does. If I now draw a line with our line brush, we can see how it appears in our view. We don't have to draw it straight, we can also draw it diagonal. With erase, we can then delete these lines, or we can use paint to simply color them. Like so. And as you can see, this works perfectly. I'll then just delete these models that we created to give us an empty view again and talk about the next option, which is this mirror option here. This allows us to draw something while mirroring it on either one of our axes, which is super helpful when we want to draw something that is symmetrical in any way, like the car models for our Crossy Road game. We don't have to, for example, draw all of the tires individually, but can just do one and activate mirroring to have them all at the right positions, which is pretty neat. I don't necessarily need to mirror it on 2 axes, I can only mirror it on 1 as well, as you can see in this example. This is very helpful, especially when we are trying to design something like a car or anything that has some type of symmetrical properties. The second tool that we're going to look at is the center tool, which enables us to draw either circles or squares, which are then, as the name suggests, drawn from within the center. So let's just take a look at how this would look for a square, like so. And if I want to switch this to a circle, we can see that it's obviously not a round circle, but we can definitely see that this is a voxel circle, and it is drawn from within the center of the model. The P tool is our pattern tool. Pattern doesn't mean that we have some colorful pattern that we can attach to a model or color it in. It's more something where we can use existing vox models and paste or duplicate them into our view rather easily, which is a very nice feature when you are designing a level, for example, and you don't want to design 43 trees individually. But right now, we don't really need this. So let's have a look at the next brush tool, the box brush, which we can use to create box models, which isn't maybe the most spectacular tool that we can use, but it is convenient for us to use sometimes. The tool we are going to use most of the time is the voxel brush, which is the one with V. So let's prepare our view so that we can design our tree model. First of all, I will turn off the ground. I would then activate the grid. And then I'm going to also activate the frame because it shows me these lines that are very helpful for when you're trying to build something in the center, right here. On the left side, where it says Vox, we can select whether we want to have a cube or a sphere, and whether it should be 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. Since our tree trunk is going to be square, I will select cube and 3-dimensional. and make it about 2 voxels wide and high. Perfect. I can then select this brown or this shade of brown and put my tree trunk right in the center of our grid, which again is why I activated these frame lines that give me the exact center of our view, which is in this case very helpful because our tree will be perfectly centered. Which is important since I want my tree to appear in my game in the right way. Now we have this brown cube, and we can either place another one on top of it, or we can just use the last tool that we haven't talked about yet. The so-called face mode brush, which is really convenient since it allows us to enhance existing objects, or more specifically, their layer. This is great because we don't have to worry about not exactly drawing our model with our brush perfectly centered. We can just click and drag to make it bigger. And this might not be important when creating a simple model like a tree, but when you want to design more complex models, it comes in really handy. Let's switch back to our voxel tool. This time, we're going to select sphere and set it to 6. Let's choose a green color. And I'm just going to pick this one and then put it on top of our trunk. And I want to make sure that it's nicely centered, like so. Let's see how it looks. And I think I might add another sphere on top of it. Perfect. This looks better. And there we have it, a perfectly modeled voxel tree. This already concludes our short tutorial on how to create three-dimensional models in Voxel, and we are able to export this model. For Xcode, we want to use the OBJ file type, and we can then just save it down here and import this in Xcode and use it within our game. To finish this video, I want to encourage you to play around with this tool and just create a few more models on your own. We'll also provide you the models that we use for our Crossy Road game, so you can open them up in Voxel and just see how they were made and maybe draw some inspiration from it and create your own characters for the game. Let's quickly take a look at the amazing models other people have created in this program. Because let me tell you, they are very impressive. On the right, we have this list where we have different models, such as castle or knight. But we also have these huge monument valley levels. And this just shows you how amazing this software is, and that we can use it for free is just incredible. I really hope you enjoyed this quick introduction into Magica Voxel, and you had a bit of fun while creating the tree, and maybe were even able to learn a thing or two. I'm really curious to see what you do with this program, and I want to encourage you to show the other students, and obviously us, what amazing models you create.